How would you like to achieve your first million? And today we have Steven, which is the founder of Switchback OS. So Steven, tell us, what are the 5 steps to make your first million?
Welcome to Unstoppable Podcast with Harry Sardinas, inspiring conversations with influential millionaires, investors, thought leaders, entrepreneurs who are making a massive difference with their innovative products and services, and sharing the challenges and wisdom of how they sold their first million.
Harry, thanks for having me on. You know, I've listened to
Pleasure.
a number of your other guests, and I'm going to take it a bit of a different angle. And so I love all their advice, like become great at business, become great at sales and marketing, you know, work hard, like really find your niche market, just establish your avatar. All that stuff is awesome. I totally agree with it. But here are my 5 steps. And so it's a bit more behind the veil, because I like to answer the question, why do good people sabotage their lives? Why do good entrepreneurs shoot themselves in the foot? And it all started for me, it was like, why do good loggers kill themselves when no one is asking them to work that way or take that risk? So step number 1, people can change. Believe in neuroplasticity. Believe that you can rewire your brain. And I mean, there's lots of examples for that, but I know it's a little bit different than believe in yourself. I'm saying believe that you can change. If you have an anger problem, like a hair trigger anger, believe that you can change that. If you have a habit of interrupting people, believe that you can change that. So, and not just believe, I mean, there's a whole skill pack behind it as to how to wire your brain. And I hope we have time to talk about it later on in this podcast. I think your listeners are going to love to hear what we call memory expert. So the idea that you can move memories around in your brain, that is probably the most powerful way to shift from a neuroplastic point of view. Okay, number 1, people can change. Number 2, how the heck are you going to change? And so number 2 is the power of success is in team. Meaning, have you ever tried to change something and you're just like round and round and round, you know, it's like the hamster wheel. And like a decade later, wow, I still haven't changed.
Yeah.
The theory around entrepreneurial success to make your first million is believe that you can change neuroplasticity. Second is you've got to get team around you. And so you somehow have to access team. And you never know. It might be a podcast. It might be a coach. It might be like, I literally flew all the way to Mozambique to meet a woman and to hang out with the ministry that she's part of in order to get that next level of growth I was needing. My whole family, my 4 kids, my wife said, you need to go as a representative of our family to there.
Wow.
So you can come back and bring it to us. And so that's, I mean, I'm telling you, I live that out. The power of success is in team. Okay, number 3, self-awareness. I know it sounds boring. It's not boring at all. Because self-awareness leads to self-regulation. And entrepreneurs, they're going to have a spark of amazingness. And then they're going to have, it's not a spark, they're going to have a piece of stupid in them. They really are. A blind spot is a nicer way to say it. Mm-hmm. And so self-awareness, we have to be dedicated to actually look in the mirror, get honest feedback, and to be able to, okay, oh, really? I do that. And then that self-regulation piece, learning how to rein in the horses so that you are able to manage essentially your emotions and your thoughts, so that at the end of the day, you actually, like for instance, one of your guests talked about, you know, you got to be able to make a sales call all about the other person, you know, the person, you got to meet their need and bring value to them. Well, you can't do that if you don't have self-awareness. You're gonna run right over that whole process and go into tangents and talk about how great you are and blah, blah, blah. So self-awareness, self-regulation. Okay, number 4, situational awareness. I know it doesn't sound that funny or wonderful, but behind the veil, there's something amazing about situational awareness. So which means you can actually read a room, read a situation. You pick up what we call tickets in our company. Like you're walking into, let's say, an office building. You walk into the parking lot. You're looking at What are the cars that people are driving? What's this? What's that? What's the art that's hanging on the wall? What's taking place? What language are they using? How are they building their sentences? Are they building like complex sentences, or have they taught themselves how to be cryptic? And then that situational regulation, how to regulate yourself. For instance, our company, we had an opportunity to, I'm from Canada, from the west coast of Canada. But I did a speaking like conference tour in New Zealand and Australia as a keynote. And we ended up getting a client in Australia of all places. So we did like 10 trips to Australia. So we go to Australia and we're excited because we've watched the movies like Crocodile Dundee and Steve Irwin, the crocodile wrestler. We go, oh, this Australia, we're gonna have to really bring our A game. Like we're gonna have to be exciting and we're gonna have to be exuberant. We're gonna have to tell big stories. So we came in super hot, talking so fast and loud, and we completely lost the audience. Completely. Plus, we were in Melbourne and we're trying to build connection with them by talking about rugby. Well, that's the wrong sport. In Melbourne, Australia, it's footy.
Oh, wow.
Footy is what brings people together. So my associate Paul and I, in our first break, were like, we're completely failing. Like our situational awareness wasn't kicking in, and our situational, we weren't able to. But we said we need to do a 180 like right now, because we had self-awareness and we knew that we could change. People can change in neuroplasticity, and we knew that we need to build team with them. And so we actually went into the hotel lobby and said, "Can we borrow some stools from your bar?" I said, "Yes." We brought stools to the front of the room. We sat down. Said, "We're going to slow down our word count. We're going to quiet our voices. We're going to lower our voices, and we're going to connect. And we're not going to tell any more big, giant stories. We're going to tell our B-roll stories, not our A-roll stories." And we won the room, won the contract, and bought a new suit, and did an amazing job. But without the fact, believing that neuroplasticity was available to us, without believing the power of team, like we gave each other feedback, without self-awareness and be able to self-regulate ourselves, without reading the room and going, no, we're doing our regular thing. Like the carnivals come to town and we're doing our show, but it's not landing. Like I had a team we're from the west coast of Canada. Last week we had a team in Arkansas. And they came back and said, "Steve, we had to slow our speech down by half. Because in Arkansas, they just talk slower." And they weren't being disrespectful. They were like being respectful. They're going, "These are wonderful people. They're created in the image of God. But we can't use our regular speed, our regular cadence, and we can't use our regular speed of speaking, or else we're going to lose this room." So they just slowed things down and had success. So number 5 is, I don't have a number 5. So I thought, Harry, you would come up with number 5 from what I've been talking about so far. So
I think the number 5 be so likable and so charismatic. If you say the other steps, that will finally resonate. Yeah.
Harry, I'm 100%. I wrote that one down. There is a study that says between age 0 and 4, the greatest skill set you can develop in your children is likability. Mm-hmm. Likability to their peers, and then likability to authority figures. They say if you can establish that in your child's life. I have 11 grandchildren. And so wow, that's my primary job as a grandfather, is to help them develop a likability style with me and with others. They say that is the greatest indicator of adult success.
Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, I have a nephew also, and he's always coming to me, "Uncle, look at this, look what I did." I'm like, "Wow, this is amazing. Wow, you're amazing, you're brilliant." So the more you put that in the mindset of a child, of a kid, he's always looking to create something to show it to me, so he can get to impress me, like could be a toy, it's a little kid for 6 years old, but he's trying to always come to me because I'm telling him, wow, you did this? That's amazing. How you did it? Was just so clever. So the more self-confidence you can put in the kids, I noticed that the more I said that to him, the more he push himself to create something that actually can impress me. And I think this is a good behavior because it developed the creative mind and he's getting his big of significance like we all human beings need in order
Yes.
to move forward. However, Steven, I like to talk about. I love all your steps, but let's start for the first one
Yes.
because people can change. That's really profound, and let's talk about business because today I ask you, okay, what are the 5 steps to go from 0 to 1 million, to go to 0 to 1, which is we do this question to all the entrepreneurs that we interview. We interview 500 multimillionaires, and the reason we're doing that is again to so our audience can see that there are role models in different industries that actually have achieved what they're working on now. And again, because 98% of the companies out there all over the world um, are failing because of this process, 0 to 1, get the problem, or how we call it market fit. However, um, people can change is a really profound um, statement, especially when you go into 0 to 1, because I think that uh, sometimes for you to go from 0 to 1 million, you have to unlearn what you think you know. Because some people come from corporate job and now they quit the corporate job. Now they decide to become an entrepreneur and they have to change because it's
Yes.
completely different from A to from being a corporate to be an entrepreneur. In corporate, you have to be very knowledgeable about one specific topic, and you will climb the corporate ladder if you're very good at this specific thing. Yeah. That and you're very open. You can tell to people, this is not my job. If somebody come and ask you to do something else, you tell, look, this is not my job. This is the job of somebody else. I'm an expert on specialize on this. Whether when you go to have your own business, completely different ball game. Everything is your job. So you have to unlearn the your corporate mentality to start to switch on to entrepreneur's mentality. And then again, you have to unlearn because the thing that you know when you make from 0 to 1 million, after you make this 1 million, you have to unlearn everything. If you want to go from 1 million to 10 million, after you reach 10 million, you have to unlearn everything and learn again 10 million to 100 million and so on. So um, and the people that they are failing or they are finding challenges is because they are not willing exactly what you described, Stephen, to change. What do you think that is the biggest behavior why human beings don't want to change the way they're thinking? What you clearly articulate that there is no progress if you don't actually unlearn and learn again, right?
Well, while you're talking, I was listening for sure, but I was also daydreaming. I couldn't help it. I saw myself. I don't know if you ever do conferences, but I saw myself like you have like 18 keynote speakers, right? And they're all saying, work hard and hustle and learn skills. And then, okay, Steven Falk's coming up next. Um, Here he is. And we just the lighting in the room sort of it gets a little bit darker, right? Okay. We're gonna talk about something that we often don't talk about because entrepreneurs are amazing at focusing on what they're good at, and they're very good at hiding what they're not good at.
Absolutely.
And you did that in your corporate world successfully, but now in your entrepreneurial world, every time you scale, what you're hiding is magnified at the same rate that all your gifting is. And did you know that people can read you beyond your words and your Rolex and the persona that they can see behind the veil. Just, I mean, the creepy version is if a man looks at a woman lustfully, and she will typically like grab her jacket and pull it over her body. It's a bad experiment to do, but it's really true. How does she know that someone at the airport has just looked at her with sort of lustful eyes? And she's just reading her book or on her phone, and she'll just intuitively. Have you ever noticed that? She'll grab her jacket and just zip it up. I'm like, fascinating. So what it is we, as entrepreneurs, we are more exposed than any other person, especially as leaders. Any other person, I think, in society, other than say mom and dad, they're so exposed to their kids. Just strip it back, right? It's all right there. So what is getting in the way is not your talent. What's getting in the way is what you haven't processed yet, essentially your trauma. That is what is going to be, we call it the battle of the brains. So there's a battle going on, and I don't care how much cologne a person can put on and how fancy, like we have a saying in our company, we say overcompensation out of an acute sense of lack. Just say it again, overcompensation out of an acute sense of lack. So sometimes the flashiest person has the most to hide.
Mm-hmm.
And you can get away with it if you're running a $500,000 company. I don't think you can get away with it with a $3 million company because it's more magnified. And so the truth is we have to do the work to heal, forgive, sort out. I mean, I'm using the word trauma right now in our company. Because we work in industry, like heavy industry. We call trauma in the brain, we call it a memory X. And we actually draw it with a black felt pen. It's such a nice reframe because then we can have grown adults that are wildly successful stand in the front of the room and say, okay, I've got this X I need to talk about. And then the room will say, oh, have you ever talked about it before? No, I have not. And they go, how big is the X? And then like we'll be on a flip chart paper, right? And I say, well, I don't know, well, they'll draw it for us. Like the room's like, go, draw it for us. He goes, well, what the heck? It's a massive X. And say, okay, so what's the origin story of the X? Like how do you know that you got an X? Well, he says, well, pretty easy because my wife just left me, so I've got an X. She's my X. And everyone laughs, right? But we don't buy that as the origin story for the X. We go, okay, well, what's an earlier story, or what's the earliest story you can come up with that's sort of on that theme of that X? So what was that X? Oh, my wife betrayed me. Oh, cool. So when do you think? And they're like, oh, this is getting heavy. I said, yeah, for sure. Can you imagine that doing that at a conference, right? So everyone grab a piece of paper, draw your X. How big is that X, man? Is it hidden and is it behind? Because some people have X's that they're literally behind the sheet. They don't even want to expose it. And then you say, okay, so there it was. And also you can find this origin story at 8 years old or 10 years old or 14 years old or something like that. And then here comes neuroplasticity. Do you know that you can move that X from its current position in your back brain operating system, and you can move that X to your front brain operating system, and it will not sabotage you moving forward. It doesn't change the historical significance of it. It just reframes it. Literally, you rewire your brain so that the next time you need to take a bold step, the next time you're with a customer that, let's say the first time you coach a billionaire, most people will have an adrenaline response to it. Their shirt will get soaked. Their heart rate will be up. They'll end up with some tunnel vision. They'll end up with ringing in their ears. They'll talk too much. They'll listen too little. And they'll probably blow the interview. That's not the front brain. That's the back brain. And I'm telling you, there is an X living in their back brain that has a story that can be, you can find it, discover it, mine that thing out of your back brain and move it to the front brain and resolve it so that the next time you meet with a, let's say, a high wealth individual and you're trying to pitch your thing, it doesn't sabotage your life.
And I think that all the success of the entrepreneur, it happens in the mindset. And let's face it, when we start our business, right? We have a lot of issues. We have a lot of pressure. We have challenges finding the first client because obviously nobody knows you. And
Yes.
and then you find the first client, and then it doesn't pay you, and then you find the first supplier, and it wants you to charge you more expensive. And by starting this business, you accumulate a lot of negative emotions, right?
Yes.
And when these negative emotions join already your emotions that you have from childhood,
Yes. That's it right there.
this is what become. And sometimes, Steven, that all that emotion negative, if they are not treated soon, they become physical pain. They can be cancer. They can end up in an illness because it's a great confrontation. All the emotions that you have from a business, which is, you say, why I'm working so hard, and we all been there. Yeah. It was a stage in my business that everybody was getting paid by me. I'm like going home and say, wow, this is unfair. I'm doing all the work and doing everything. I put this business together and everybody's getting paid and I'm getting zero. It was not enough for me. And my team was telling me, well, the business belongs to you. So if you don't get paid, it's your problem. And I'm like, wow, this is very unfair, So, and then you have these emotions going on, right? And so how you realize, Steven, that in order to succeed in the as an entrepreneur, you actually have to work on yourself and you have to change or rewire the way that you behave, that you act. You need to find your own way to release this negative emotion. Could be meditation, could be playing basketball. I like to go for a walk, for example. That works very good for me. Yeah, to see green and to walk. So when do you find out, Steven? Because look, let's face it, most of the entrepreneurs, they think that they are perfect. They have a big ego. They don't need help, and they're not going to change anything because they are perfect. So how you navigate that and how you discover this also for yourself, because for you to be helping others in that field, you have to have your internal journey and figure it out for yourself. So when this internal journey start and what happened?
Oh, you have so many. You asked like 4 questions there, and I want to answer every one of them. Let's start with this. If you can meet an entrepreneur and you can see their limp, but you see that the limp is not really affecting their ability to have like self-awareness, situational awareness, and really build a team, that's one that you can trust. If you meet an entrepreneur and they appear to not have a limp, it's like, there's a level of authenticity that's just not there. Like, for instance, you just yawned just a minute ago. It's a different time zone and all those things, right? That's a version of a limp. If you had before the podcast, taken some sort of medication that would have made you like a bunch of caffeine pills, now you're masking the limp and you're less authentic. The fact that you yawned, that's no big deal. I didn't take offense to it. I went, a real person. You know what I mean? A real person. And so that alone is just like a little micro expression of saying that I'm not a robot. I'm a real person and I have self and situational awareness. Okay. So the limp piece. Unfortunately, I was a classic. I'm not only the founder of Switchback, I'm also its #1 client.
Wow.
And so I probably grew up I grew up like in an ethnic family with cousins that I could go through the farm fields to visit. Like, just picture that. Like we could just hop the fences and visit each other. It was a magical moment. And I was likable beyond likable. like I was really likable. And then by age 5 and 6 and 7, it was discovered that I couldn't read. And so now I had the battle of the brains. Which is my true identity? My likable, soft skills, emotional intelligence, or my inability to track letters and words and numbers and to be able to put them into a sequence in my brain. So that was the battle of the brain. Am I brilliant, a gift of God to the world, or am I that other person? And that battle really created havoc in my life. And for many, many years, I was that entrepreneur that focused on my strengths and made fun of my weakness. And so even early in business, I made fun of my accountant. I made fun of my lawyer. I mocked my bookkeeper. And I would even sabotage their expertise because they had a skill set that I didn't have. I couldn't capture the data. I couldn't see it. I couldn't read the contract. I mean, I could read, right? I have a graduate degree, but I couldn't read for comprehension. My mind would fall asleep. I would become distracted. And so instead of saying the power of success is in team, I had like, I'll backtrack for a second. I bet you in like 3rd grade, I was at a crossroads in my life because we were in a country, in a rural setting, like a country school where one of my friends almost burned the school down. So it's one of those situations. So I had the choice to either go a life of crime, because that's one way you cover up a weakness, is you join a gang, or a life as the class clown. And those were my two: overcompensation out of an acute sense of lack. I had this major X in my life who've used that language. No one was sorting it out for me. Who knew that it would have taken 4 days to sort it out with someone that knew neuroscience back in the day? And from 40 to 44, it took me 4 years to do the same work. Exactly the same work that I could have done as a 10-year-old in 4 days to rewire my brain to be able to do what's called visual closure. It took me 4 years of being on a balance board and throwing bean bags and crying and tracking with my left finger across the page and learning, how to capture and not being distracted and having literally rose-colored glasses to reduce stimulation. Like 4 years of pretty serious work. That was so neuroplasticity is easier when you're younger. It's harder as you get older. Okay, so criminal life or the class clown. So I chose the class clown. And that served me well. But when I became a business owner, like you said, you have to be a generalist. You have to respect everything. And it was actually my wife. She kept on saying, Steve, you're being disrespectful. You're not handing in your homework. You're not sending in your invoices you're not paying attention to the details. When you write out the invoice in rough form and give it to the bookkeeper to put into the system, you are not respecting her. I'm like, yeah, whatever, right? It doesn't matter because everybody loves me. But people could see through it. I have a terrible story, I'll tell you. So this is like, I was a family therapist for 22 years because I was unemployable. So I ran a private practice and it was wildly successful because I just couldn't put an email together. So I didn't know how I could be an employee. Like I couldn't be a social worker. Like working for the government.
You cannot work for anybody. Yeah.
So I needed somebody else to always help me. So my wife is the one that sort of edited my work for me, right? So bless her soul. But now she doesn't edit my work anymore because people can change. You can really So I was like this family therapist for 22 years, but God's call in my life was for a very different stage long term. But we raised 4 kids and they gave us time and I just worked like 4 days a week and we were really engaged with our kids. So the time came for the big opportunity and it happened. I got into industry and I find myself in Missoula, Montana with 51 leaders of the U.S. Forest Service. They're one of our primary clients now, and them and all their other U.S. federal, agencies, they all love us, right? So we're working with Region 1. And so they have about 6,000 employees. And each one of the people in the room probably manage like 200 people. And we're facilitating and dripping our training into a 5-day process. And it's day 3, and I'm getting bored. They're like, it's such corporate talk. And I think, man, my back brain, the one that sabotages my life, thinks we need to spice things up. My front brain says, no, you don't. You just need to behave yourself. You have to respect the process. My back brain says, no, you need to spice things up. And so the battle of the brains, I'm not aware of it because it's pretty subconscious, unconscious. I end up perfect timing. The CFO says something, and I go, here's the comeback. And I blurted it out, and it was disrespectful. It was really bad. And immediately I was swamped in like heat, like I just melted the room, like and I was just burning. And my business partner's like, what have you done to us, Steven Falk? You're so reckless. That self-regulation piece, right? I lost we were tired, I was bored, I lost self-regulation for a moment, right? So the meeting went on for another about 15 minutes, and there was a pause. And because we were facilitators, I said, I'm not proud of this, but I said, because I did something really bad in public, I need to process this in public. I'm sorry to step into your meeting, but first off, I need to apologize to the individual. I'm really sorry. What I said was rude, disrespectful, and completely offside. I would like to take it offside with you if at all possible at some point just to talk it through. But to the room, I also disrespected the whole room. And they're like, yes, you did.
Oh, wow.
But then you know what they did? 51 of them. They said, oh, Steve, I wonder what X you landed on. What buried memory triggered you to do this crazy thing? I'm going, hey, hold on a second. We're the experts teaching you how to self-regulate. And so they flipped the room on me. And it was amazing. They said, no, we're going to take our time here because this is a good learning moment. Really good learning moment. We accept your apology. People make mistakes. That's fine. People make mistakes, and you made a mistake, and you admitted to it. But let's get to the bottom of this. So, everybody, what do you think's going on in Steve's back brain? Why did he do that stupid thing?
Wow.
Really bad. This one quiet lady that hadn't said anything the whole like 3 days of the meetings already. She's just one of these, like, you can see like she's pure and clean. Like she's not operating it with ego, but she's also doesn't need to, she doesn't have any peacock feathers. She's not trying to do anything spectacular. So they're kicking around different ideas. She says, Steve, I think I've got it. And the whole room, you know how the room goes quiet at these moments? Oh. Or like you could just, she goes, and she didn't have to raise her voice. Goes, Steve, you still believe that we hire you because you're funny, energetic, and likable. I said, okay. And she goes, but here it is. The primary reason we hire you, because we charge them a lot of money, we hire you because you're smart. I turned into a 7-year-old.
Wow.
Like the first time I got 3 out of 10 on a spelling test. And something in my DNA just went, this is the number 2. The power of success is in team. I could tell myself that 1,000 times. I could manifest it in front of a mirror. My wife could tell me, but she's too close to the situation. My mom could tell me she loves me. My dad could tell me he loves me. Some random person in Missoula, Montana, at a leadership meeting where I'm raw. I've just exposed myself. So that the gateway into my mind is fully open right now. We can do that at our conference. That'd be amazing to open that gateway in real time and then help people in that moment. It's more powerful than hypnosis. So the gateway was open, and she just said, you think we hire you because you're funny? We appreciate that you're funny. We hire you because you're smart. And I'm telling you, from a neuroscience, biological, spiritual point of view, it just went, I have never been the same. So how do we rewire our brains? We have to be willing to accept the fact that every single one of us walks with a limp. Mine was obvious. It was
100%.
some version of dyslexia. Number two, we have to be hungry to find team, sometimes random team in East Africa, sometimes a leader from Missoula, Montana. Sometimes it's your wife, it's whoever. But we have to accept the fact that our team is telling us the truth and they give us feedback. And then,
Steven, I agree with you, and 100%. I think that this is what happened, right? Because let's face it, when we are kids, yeah, that's why I like kids out there. Everything is possible, yeah. Nobody told you, oh, that work is gonna be hard. It's gonna be difficult. You fail again and again and again, but eventually you manage to walk. So
yes.
we all, when we are born, well, I mean, we are winners. We against millions of experiments, we make it. So we have a definition, of success, of winning, since we are little kids. However, something happened, and something happened when we are 3 years old, 5 years old, when an incident happened, and maybe you fighting with your brother, and your mom said, "Hey, don't say that to your brother." And now you're making mean that you're not lovable.
Yeah.
And then you go to school, and then math teacher asks a question, you raise your hand, and you say the wrong question, and everybody, boo. Now you're making mean that you're stupid. And then you go to 17 years old, and then you find your best friend sleeping with your girlfriend, and oh my God, you are the... And those incidents, that is not even what happens. It's the story that we make about what happens, that we build through the years, about something really tiny that that is just small, tiny incident. We make a huge story, and I always call it that from those days, from those incidents, we stop to be ourselves, and then we become a robot. We become
Love that.
a machine fighting with the story of our incident. We are not operating as we are. We are operating because we want to prove something. We want that we are enough this, enough that we can do it, and then we take a lot of behaviors. Yeah. So, but it's
And
difficult.
we try to, let's say, cover it up with $1 million.
Yeah, cover up with so many things, and then you go in business, you amplify that, and you
Yes.
cover it with, and then it gets reflected in your business. Look, I know people that are make a million fail, make a million fail, make a million fail. That have nothing to do with his ability to be an entrepreneur. It's something deep going
Yes.
in the childhood, in the behavior, something deep that the person had to work on. So, but
And
the easiest
Harry, we have to help them because they're
the
like
easy that sometimes
85,
it's so deep
90% of their
that they
life
don't even know
is,
that it's there.
I know.
Sometimes it's so deep that we don't. Same with me, I train people how to speak in public, overcome the fear of public speaking, and to build the brand from the stage. I reach online probably 1 million people, and in stages around the world with 10,000 people I train personally, and the people, they're so deep that they don't know why this fear is there in the first place. And it's very simple, because when we are kids, all our parents are telling us, don't talk to strangers, don't talk to strangers, you
Yeah,
don't talk
that's
to
right.
strangers. So of course, if somebody put you on a stage to speak of hundreds of thousands of strangers, of course you're gonna freak out. It's the biggest fear the human being can have, but we don't know that it's even there. So Steve, what is a process that you or one message do you have for all the entrepreneurs? Number one, don't think that they're perfect, and we already out of this discussion, we already agreed that we are all, every single one of us, no one escaped with us. We are all walking with a limp,
Yes.
and we have to work on ourselves, and to get rid of this robot or this machine that's operating us, so we can operate from a space of love, from a space of peace, from a space, like I'm on stage in my life, Steven, that I don't need to prove anything to anybody.
Yes.
There's no robot, no Harry, the big deal. Oh, they speaking all over the world, doing this or doing that. I don't need to prove anything to anybody. I do what I love. I love
Yeah.
speaking to you, and and you know what I mean. So, but it takes a lot of courage, of work. So I applaud you for you to say that you were the first client of what we're saying. Look at this; it was a simple dyslexia. You know how many people I know. To
Yeah.
don't take you the long story short. The other day, one of my graduates, it was this is the son of Muhammad Ali, the boxer. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the guy, of course, he invited to do a lot of public speeches, and they say, "Okay, you go there, read that." And the guy he got dyslexia, and he has to overcome. And he was during the training. I discovered how much pressure this kid, this person, had to cope his whole life because it's been placed in stages in front of thousands of people to force to read something where it's something that is unnatural to him because he's diagnosed with dilation here out this recently you know
Yes.
so he didn't even know that this is um so the whole thing is that how we surrender that robot, that person, and we all realize that we have to work on yourself and we have to find our real, especially if you're operating a business or if you're a
Yeah.
public person, because otherwise you will amplify that and you will do,
Yeah.
things that you actually auto sabotage yourself or your organization, your family. So,
Yeah.
what message do you have for the entrepreneurs?
Honestly, I think we're in a fight for our lives because the
100%.
AI is replacing a lot of our skill sets. And so if like I love your term, Harry, saying like like the shift is going from being a robot to being like a fully human.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that we glorify our limp or make it the primary message. I think we still bring our primary message of like getting organized and being strong and building team and being respectful and all those great qualities of an entrepreneur. But I honestly think if if one of your listeners can just stops and goes, for sure I've got a limp, but I cover it up. If they can learn, maybe with a little bit of help, but if they can learn to uncover that limp and roll it around like a Rubik's cube, like right now they can only see one side of it. They can see this side, this side, this side, and that's front brain activity. That's the prefrontal cortex, understanding, getting deeper meaning, understanding of that limp. If they can actually be able to eventually hold that Rubik's cube and be comfortable, have no adrenaline drip, no matter what side of that dynamic or the limp that they see, then that is that the limp is then available to their clients. It's like a gift of authenticity. And you don't weaponize it, you don't glorify it, but it just people relax under your leadership then because they realize you're a human. And I attend some conferences, not tons, but like I'll watch people and they'll hide behind their PowerPoint presentation. In fact, the stage will even be dark. We can't even see their faces. And all we're doing is looking at spreadsheets that go, yeah, but a robot's going to replace that in a minute. Like we would need to turn that. I think here's the message. We need to turn the house lights on so we can see the person that's delivering the message. And I think as entrepreneurs, you need to do the work, which is like neuroplasticity. People believe that you can change. Do the work so that you are comfortable in your own skin. And I wish I could have been more comfortable in my skin. Like I was likable, but I had that chip on my shoulder in my 20s and in my 30s. And I paid a big price for that.
Me too.
And Yeah. And
We
so
all have.
to your listeners that are like in their 20s and 30s, and you think you're it and you can hide your limp. I'm just telling you, as an older man, it's not hidden, it's exposed. Everybody sees it. Everybody sees it. And the sooner you are willing to stop, take a deep breath, and spin that Rubik's Cube around, figure it out, move that X from the back of your brain to the front of your brain and resolve it, forgive what you need to forgive, heal what you need to heal, then you can move forward with all your gifting and talent and ambition. But you can be fully human. And that is more attractive than artificial intelligence. I 100% believe.
Yeah, and then you can make a positive impact on the world, because when you operate, when you disconnect this robot from your life, or at least you're aware that is there, and it's who you control this way of being. Yeah, um, you start to become truly yourself, and it's a very good way to live your life. The other day in this broadcast, I asked one of the entrepreneurs that I interviewed. He asked me, Harry, what is the fastest path for the straight line from
Right.
point A to B? And I said, the straight line. And he told me, no, Harry, is the path with less resistance. Think about the
Yeah.
river. Yeah. So once we work on ourselves and we uh, work in our limp, and we start to find this limp,
Mhm.
know what caused this limp, how to address this limp, and how to remove it, because as you 100% share with us, people can change. So
Yeah.
we change that, you rewire that emotion that it been there, sometimes so deep that you don't even know that is there, because sometimes it's so deep and it happens at so early age that, and you build a story after a story after a story about the incident, that sometimes, Steven, there are people that don't speak with the fathers for 20 years, for
Mhm.
30 years,
Mhm.
relationships broken forever for something that happened that if you ask them now, they don't even remember. It's just a
Yeah.
story built on top of the story, on top of the story. So we are not robots, we are humans.
Yes.
And until we don't
Listen to
find
this man.
when we don't find the humanity within us, we won't be able to operate at highest level as an entrepreneur, or as a human being. The issue why this is important for entrepreneurs, Steven, is entrepreneurs, because they're leading the world, they're creating jobs. If the entrepreneur don't work on yourself, that link can create a huge negative impact in the business and in the life of those employees and that people. That's why
Yeah.
it's more important than ever that the entrepreneurs work on that. So um, tell us, Stephen, is entrepreneurs are listening to this podcast and they are in love with our conversation. They want to know more about you. They want to learn how you switch the back OS, help them to find that limb and to overcome that. How they can find you, how the process work, how can you help them? Because we all have, yeah, some people, if someone is listening to this conversation, I'm thinking, well, I'm perfect, I'm 20, I'm 40, 50 years old, I'm all perfect, and I'm all happy, everything is fine in my life, then you hide them even better, because we all
Yes.
have that. And you can, there is a process on life that if you skip this process that we're talking today, you're gonna be operated like a robot all your life, my friend. Yesterday, Stephen, last thing, I was watching
Yes.
the documentary of Donald Trump, yeah, and look at
Yes.
him, very successful guy, but all his life, he's been operated. He always want to do better than his dad. He
Yeah.
want to prove
Yes.
he was better. So there you go. Is someone that, well, today is going to be the president of the United States, but this is a behavior that you see that is like we call it a robot running
Yeah.
a person, and
Mhm.
this has been his life. Yeah,
Mhm.
it's
Yeah.
not my life; it's the life that he choose. But it coming from, I have to prove that I'm better, and I'll show you that I can do it, and then I show everybody that I can do it. I'm not gonna be president. I show everybody I can do it, and it's
That's
that
it.
behavior. Yeah, and look, got a president. Don't get me wrong. I have a wonderful life. Yeah, but what if we can do the same thing with the space of as a human being? I'm no having
It, Harry, that's it. That's the one. So our primary clients are all corporate, and so government entities and like wildland fire but we just sat as a team. So you can reach us through switchbackos.com, just our website. We have a contact us. And I'm not a huge like Twitter and all the rest person just because our corporate clients don't require that. However, we have realized that we want to love entrepreneurs as well. And so in 2025, we are starting a mastermind. We're joining that world. And so if somebody wants to journey with myself and figure out this whole piece around, self and situational awareness and if there's a part of their life that they know that they do not have self-regulation, I'm telling you, we have the recipe. And it's been proven by, in our industry, like where we work, we prove it by reducing fatalities in the workplace.
Wow.
So our work literally changes how many people die in wildland fires, how many people die in heavy industry. And that's one of the primary metrics. They measure the success of our model. Because
Wow.
who knows, if you are fully human, you don't make a mistake in the heat of the moment. If you're operating like a robot and you have ego that is overshadowing your ability to hear that small voice that says, you shouldn't do it, you should call a friend. So no way, I'm the man, I can do this, and I need to do this because my dad didn't say he loves me. Then you end up doing something really catastrophic.
It can be dangerous for others. Absolutely.
Yes. And so switchbackos.com. It's humble. It's a humble way to
Love the
contact.
name. Love the
That's
name.
it. That's it.
Yeah. So thank you so much, Steven. This broadcast has been amazing. Yeah, you made my day today. I'm so happy that we talk about this conversation because again, we want to make a million. Yeah. And this was me, like I go in business and then I want to make a million. I want to become a millionaire. This is what I wanted, or this is what I thought I was wanted. And but then you make a million, you're like, what? Like nothing happened. There's no fulfillment. There is nothing there. So it was not a million. It was, it was the robot operating, but it was no I was not operating by myself, like I said, as a human, and it took a while. It took a lot of work on myself. Took a lot of traveling and meeting coaches and experiences and business things, that happens and the reflection how I operate the business. So I had to look into myself and I said, well, um, really had to work on myself because absolutely I'm not perfect. Yeah. And if I want to create a great impact, I have to work on myself and be the best person I can be. So like you say, you become your own, try to look yourself internally and to see what can you do in order to heal yourself. And it's difficult, and some people spend their whole life and they never even aware that there is something there that if it's work uh, can change. I see miracles, like people after 20, 30 years, they go and they say I'm sorry to the family member that haven't spoke with them for years. Or brilliant things I'm seeing in my life when people actually uh, go deep down, accept responsibility, and work on themselves. And that, because they have done that and they have clearance of that, then they have a huge impact on the business. Yeah. Uh, I know,
100%.
and I also know people that they were too late, and the person already died,
Yes.
and they couldn't, have that conversation before before the person died. And
You know
now
what the feedback
they
we
go
get
to,
from our
yeah.
clients? the primary feedback we get is like, let's say a 57-year-old leader within the federal government of the United States. They'll come to us after our 3-day training with a lump in their throat. And they'll say, I so appreciate what you've done. I've been texting my adult kids this whole time. I'm building bridges again. But where the hell were you 25 years ago?
Absolutely.
If I would have gotten this information when I was like 25, 30, I wouldn't have screwed up my 2 marriages. I wouldn't have kids that hate me. I wouldn't be 100 pounds overweight. I wouldn't have had a heart surgery. All these things wouldn't have happened to me.
I have nothing to do with the kids and with the wife. It's something, not even with his son. It's something that happened to him when he was a kid that, that is simplifying and impact all the life. Seen hundreds of times, Steven, in the entrepreneurs that we train all over the world. So I know I'm very aware of that, and I want to congratulate you and empower you to keep doing this wonderful work to bring love to humanity and to allow the human being to release that baggage, that limb, and because it's beautiful to being human again, right?
And one of the tickets to our success was repackaging the language. So I think for our company, calling it a Memory X liberated people for the first time to be able to talk about. We created a new neurological pathway into that cave that had that hidden stuff in it. And up until then, they had made a vow, I will never go in that cave. We reframed it and called it, it's just a Memory X. It's no big deal. And there's a bunch of X's on top of it probably. And you just pull that thing out of the cave and work it down the hill and move it back into the front of your brain.
But now they can identify it and they can work and they can remove it and they can find it. Amazing.
And so sometimes we, as entrepreneurs, we have to help reform. We have to create new language to liberate people from their own suffering.
100%. 100%. So thank you so much, Steven. That has been amazing. And for you listening to us, see you in our next episode of Unstoppable, how brave entrepreneurs like Steven break that wall and achieve the first million. Bye for now.
Follow us for more interviews with world's most influential, audacious entrepreneurs that overcame challenges and adversity, providing you with the blueprint of how they sold their first million so you can grow your business exponentially.